Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here to review Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode uh, 5, I guess. It doesn't really feel like 5 episodes have gone by. It feels like, I don't know. I'm very Uh, I'll get into it. This episode is called Black and Blue, and obviously the title excited me. You know, the implications of that. I think the nice thing about some of these titles is that they have really equal implications for like who it could be about. Like with uh, a future episode, apparently it's called Plan and Execution, and that could apply to Lalo's plan and execution, or it could apply to Jimmy and Kim's plan and execution. And I like sort of the ambiguity of that. Uh, and with this episode, I was very excited and let down as usual. I mean, I don't think that these fanboys realize that is that when I give these bad reviews, it's because Safi and I, we were excited and then we were let down. And the reason why Safi's not here is because she's too tired, so she's asleep now. She had a couple of things to say, and she relayed to me her thoughts. She gave this episode a C, and she said that she really liked the stuff with Lalo and learning about what happened after Warner's death and how it was handled. And she also thought the thing with how Howard is going to have someone tailing Jimmy, and is there going to be a conflict between him and then the people who Mike hired to protect them? Like, are the two followers, are they going to have a conflict with each other? Are they going to fight to the death or something? I don't know. Uh, so she liked that. And yeah, she really just liked the stuff with Lalo. And I guess she liked a couple other things too, but she really thought that she agrees with me, basically. Like, I don't know. I couldn't really tell, she's just like falling asleep. So I basically had to like translate through gibberish for most of it. And it, like, I don't speak Spanish, but it was basically like trying to understand Spanish without using a translator. And uh, to be fair, I do speak German though, so I knew the German in this episode. Uh, that's pretty fun. Anyways, now here's what I thought about this episode. I I really didn't like it at all. For the most part, I mean, I liked a couple of things, I guess, but this is another one of those episodes where it was very slow and very basic and quiet. I mean, this episode was quiet to the point of where there's a scene with Howard and he's talking, he's giving this speech, and you just hear like this outside ambience of like crickets and it environmental noises in the outside world outside of this building, and just how quiet this episode is. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose to have some sort of a thing with like, oh, it's really quiet, and anything could happen at any moment. And I guess that's what they're trying to do, but all it's making me do is just want to fall asleep. And most of this episode revolves around very basic plots, very, very basic, one note sort of activities that are basically spinning the wheels at this point. I mean, really, just not really doing anything to advance the story forward other than, I guess, like two little tiny things. And one of the things, of course, one of the good things about the episode was Lalo. And I want to talk about that first since maybe the fanboys will hear that part and before they rage quit and go, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, the typical bullshit. I really like that part with Lalo in Germany. As I've said before, he's my favorite character on the whole show now. After they ruined all the other characters, and for the reasons that you see in this episode, he investigates what happened. I really like that. Fans already predicted that would happen, and I was very glad to see that happen. I was glad to see him question Werner's wife about, or sort of, talk to her and find out what happened afterward, and then he finds out where her house is, and seeing him break in there and everything. It was a lot like if you guys have ever played any of the Hitman games. It was a lot like that. It was basically like a Hitman game mission where he goes into her house and he has the choice. He could poison the dog, he could kill the dog, or he could just tell the dog to be quiet. He has all these options, and he tells the dog to be quiet, thankfully. He doesn't kill the dog. And then he goes upstairs, searches around the office for evidence, and just like a classic Hitman game mission, I'm telling you guys, it was straight up a Hitman video game mission. And I emphasize that over and over because I think some people don't know what that is because it is a video game, and I don't think the people who watch Better Call Saul play video games for the most part. She comes home, Warner's wife comes home, and you're thinking, oh, I really hope that she doesn't die because her husband already died in such a terrible way. Uh, and it's funny because Lalo, he does everything he can to avoid killing either of them. And once again, he's showing like how much better of a character he is than Nacho, for instance, or Mike. He goes out of his way. I mean, he could have just done the stereotypical thing. He could have just, went, oh, okay, they're going to die. Boom, boom. Dispose the body, done. But instead, he just waits. He maneuvers around. He finds an exit. He leaves. And I thought it was also a very suspenseful sequence. It was really suspenseful. And so I have to applaud the fact that the people who made this episode, even though they don't know how to do it in the rest of the episode, they do know how to do suspense. And I really loved this suspenseful sequence. And yeah, it was everything I wanted. And I was very satisfied by what I saw with Lalo. And it was short and sweet. It wasn't drawn out and long, and it didn't overstay its welcome. Okay, I'm not going to say that anymore. And then you have basically Jimmy shows the secretary his office, and I guess that's fine. It's just and then we see Howard. He assures all the old people with the Sandpiper lawsuit. He assures them that they're going to get what they deserve, all the money that they deserve. And that scene actually kind of made me sad a little bit because sometimes you forget, or I guess I forget, how good of an actor the guy who plays Howard is. And in this scene, he gives a great little speech, and it made me really just want to see more. Like, I really wish that in earlier seasons 4 and 5, I really wish that he had played a bigger character and that he had been a bigger part so that we could have gotten to see more great scenes like that. And not that it was a fantastic scene, but like it was a good scene and with great acting from him. And then we get to see what's after that. I think the whole client thing. Saul is told that he has a client who wants a house call, and his name is Mr. Ward. And I thought that was pretty weird. I mean, I could even tell it was weird before, but I just thought like, oh, he's a Saul client. Of course he's weird, and in fact, that's why Howard chose it, was that it would sound like a Saul client. So I thought that was good. But then it's revealed why Jimmy is called there in the first place. Howard says, I mean, I was almost ready to, like, I was so shocked in awe and dismay of like just what is going on. Like, just this is the goofiest, stupidest shit I've ever seen. It boggles my mind how they can keep on doing little things like what they do, and then the fanboys will say 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And in this sequence, Howard reveals that the whole reason that he wanted Jimmy to come there is because he wants him to fight him in the ring, in the boxing ring. He wants Jimmy to box with him and let out his frustrations. I thought, like, what the F? Like, what the... Just... That was so stupid and goofy. I mean, he literally... I mean, guys... you have a major character on what is considered by some to be the greatest show on television, and he literally stands in front of Jimmy, aka Saul, and he says, fight me, like a kid, like a little 10-year-old. You got Howard, and just, what the... And then Jimmy's like, Jimmy wasn't even going to fight him, but then he decides to. And that kind of made me laugh because I was like, oh, is this the scene where Bob Odenkirk had a heart attack? Like, was this the scene? And I was going to be like, wow, like, obviously, this would be the standout scene. And I say that it's funny because we still don't know which scene that it was where he was shooting and he had the heart attack. But I just thought when I was watching the scene that, like, oh, of course this is probably the scene because he's jumping around and he's doing this. I mean, you guys might not know, but boxing is a really tough, intense cardio workout. And even just doing 3 minutes of boxing feels like the equivalent of a 90-minute cardio workout. And so it wouldn't be surprising if that was the scene where he had the heart attack, unfortunately. It was just a really stupid, goofy scene. And I thought to myself, in season 1, back when the show was really, really good, I never would have been able to predict that in the final season, Jimmy would accept Howard's challenge to box him. And it would be played off seriously, like pretty seriously at the end, where Jimmy gets knocked down, and then Howard gets in the car and he says, it went exactly how I expected, and all that shit. And then he says to someone to follow Jimmy, tell him exactly what he does, who he talks to. Now, here's where the episode gets pretty bad, even worse than this. Jimmy goes home to Kim, and Kim is like standing over the balcony, smoking and drinking. And to be honest, oh yeah, and I forgot about how she talked to her former secretary and extracted some information. That was just another very quiet, basic scene. Wasn't really anything of note that happened. I mean, just very. This episode made me want to go to sleep. So that's why it's not surprising to me that Safi is asleep right now, because I wanted to go to sleep, and I try to watch everything. I don't like to quit watching movies and shows. I don't like to fall asleep or not pay attention. I like to pay attention to what I'm watching, but I really wanted to go. This was Better Call Sleepy time. But you got Kim, and I really loved her villain turn at the beginning of the season. I really love that because for the past few years they've been kind of treating her like she's just perfectly innocent, and she's being corrupted by Jimmy. And it's the typical kind of thing that, like, Chuck would say about Jimmy. Whereas in my opinion, she's her own person, and she's been having her own transformation where she is turning evil, but they still kind of treated her like she was this all perfect person, and it backfired. It actually made me hate her. She went from being one of my favorite female TV characters in the seasons 1 through 3 to being one of my least favorite because of how she was in seasons 4 and 5. And I really loved her villain turn because at least she's not trying to be likable. Like, she's evil. She's full on evil, and it was very entertaining to watch her with the whole carrot and stick thing. It's really entertaining to watch Kim play evil. Like, the actress does such a good job that you can never get enough of it. It's like having a pie, and you have a piece of pie, and you just want to eat the whole pie. Kim is that pie. I don't know what kind of pie she is. She's not I was gonna make a squat cobbler joke, but I won't. So, anyways, she looks like a trailer trash wife in the scene, though, when she's smoking and drinking over the balcony of the apartment, and she sees Jimmy approaching the apartment, and then they cut like 10 minutes later to where he's in the bathroom concealing his bruise, his black eye, and she says that he should just wear it proud in court. And it was very strange because she didn't have really any reaction to him getting punched, to him getting into a boxing match with Howard. This is something that season 1 Kim would have been like, "What? Like, what did you do? You idiot. Like, what did you, like, why would you do that?" She'd be like really like just not having it. And so I guess it shows her character transformation that she's got a screw loose, and so she doesn't really care that he has a black eye. I mean, if anyone's husband or wife came home and the other person saw that they had evidence that they got in a fight, they'd be pretty concerned. And we didn't really get to hear anything about like Kim's reaction to Howard, and why he would even do this in the first place. And it's weird because Kim worked with Howard longer than Jimmy did. Jimmy didn't really work with him. He worked as the mailman, and so he really didn't get to see Howard and his strategy, whereas Kim got to see a lot of the type of stuff that he would do. And it's surprising that she didn't see any angle that he was playing, and that she didn't really see what he was doing behind it or anything. She didn't even suspect. She didn't even care. Like, she literally did not care. Like, there was a point where he was talking about the fight, and then in the middle of talking about it, she just turns off the lights in the room. And it's like, she just could not care less. All she cares about is the information she got from the secretary. And so she's moving forward with the plan. She's really excited about that. And then I am starting to yawn because sorry about that. That's not because of me being tired. Like, it's just cuz I'm tired thinking about what happens next. I mean, I'm starting to want to fall asleep. I mean, you had these sequences with Gus, and he stands around, he sits around, he stands around, he walks around, he cleans up stuff, he attends the fast food counter at Los Polios Hermanos, and he just stares into space. And I remember seeing the shot in the trailer of him standing at the counter, and his head kind of jolts a little bit, like he reacted to someone showing up or something happening. And you expected that moment to be like a really intense moment where, like, maybe once again one of these bad guys showed up inside his restaurant. But instead, it was just one of his workers dropped a couple of pans. And so I guess they're just like building suspense with that, but it's not working with that, uh, with this storyline with Gus. And then he goes home to his decoy home, and he's cleaning the bathtub. And then Mike talks to him, and Gus is like, Gus is like, he's just staring into space. And then he washes his hands while he stares into space. And then he's like, Mike, let the guys know they're going out. And then we cut to the lab, the meth lab, the underground meth lab. And Gus goes in there, and Mike is like, Gus, are you stupid? Nobody's gonna get in here. You're just, nobody's getting in here. And Gus is like, he's just staring into space. And then Mike is like, okay, buddy, I'm gonna go upstairs and like get something to eat, because they had this weird dialogue where Mike asked the workers if they got dinner yet. And so I was wondering, like, is Mike getting something to eat? Like, what's going on with that? I don't know. It just felt kind of weird. It didn't feel weird. I mean, I don't know. Mike was like, I'll go upstairs and I'll leave you down here to do what you're gonna do, and maybe something will happen sometime. And maybe I'll just fall asleep in the middle of shooting this review, and it'll be like the worst review of all time. And so then Gus has a little flashlight. And, oh wait, no, he doesn't have a flashlight, because Gus, at this point, he is dark Gus. He is, he's already dark. But he's dark Gus, where he's wearing like this big black trench coat, and he's walking around this like really dark meth lab, and he's like, ooh, what's in there? Is there a shadow over there that's actually Lalo? Is Nacho's ghost down here? You know what would have been really cool? And here's the thing, like, Vince Gilligan, he worked on the X-Files. And I'm sorry, but after what they did to Krychek and had him basically just get out of whatever situations he needed to get out of to survive, to live, to see another day. They really should have just had Nacho return. Like, honestly, like, it would have been so much cooler if Nacho was, like, inside the lab and he was hiding. I don't know how or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, something, something could have happened, like, at least. Like, literally nothing happened. You just have this brooding, dark, like, villainous guy, like, walking around. And what was sad is that the people who do the music for these shows, they're very, very good. And they've always been very good with music. They create very interesting, engaging, thrilling themes, thrilling songs. And in this episode, you have just this scene of this guy pointing, looking at the ground. Oh no. Is there something on the ground that might be evil? Is there an evil monster that's sitting on the ground and it's gonna kill everyone? Like, and then they have this music that is like totally not fitting to the scene. Oh yeah, and there's this one boring part at the beginning of the episode where this guy makes diamonds, and I guess they're Saul's diamonds, and they're gonna be important somehow. But they had that pretentious sequence. It was just kind of like, oh God, everything is so boring. And Gus is he's continuously walking around and, ooh, I thought I saw something behind the corner of that machine there. Ooh, did I hear something from inside one of the mixers? Oh no. And just thinking about, like, honestly, what would have Heisenberg thought of how, like, Gus was, like, walking around the lab paranoid that someone's coming after him. Like, wouldn't it be funny to hear, like, what Heisenberg had to say about that? To me, it's like they're trying to parallel him and then Heisenberg, the way that he was really paranoid about the fly, and then about Gus coming after him. And I can kind of see, like, maybe this is kind of trying to be similar to that, and trying to say, like, okay, here's some similarities between him and Walter, and that can make stories richer and more in depth. But it was just very boring and one note, one dimensional. You really didn't need it at all. Like, you could have literally, because the lab, you could hardly even see it. Like, they had it be really dark, gloomy. It was kind of creepy, actually. It was kind of creepy, to where I thought maybe there is someone down there, because it looks so creepy. It looks like, yeah, I don't want to go down there alone at all. Even if I knew that, like, it's very secure. Like, what if there's a ghost down there or something? Like, it really, so yeah. And then, is there anything else of note that happens besides the whole Lalo thing? No. I give this episode a C minus. Like, this is just so mediocre and so basic, and how many times can I say it? Bare minimum, and boring and slow. I mean, they move at a snail's pace, but here's the thing that worries me. There's only 2 episodes left until the break, and then, of course, after that, it'll only be 6 episodes left in July, starting in July. And what I wonder is, like, where is everything going to end up? How fast is it going to go? It feels like it's saddening, because you can feel the rushing. Like, you can feel that in these 2 episodes, you have 3 and 4, that both of them, they really wanted to rush through them. but they decided not to because they decided, oh, maybe if we have these slow episodes, then we can cram all the quote unquote climactic stuff in episodes 6 and 7. And so it feels like they purposefully did this, and they know that it's boring, and then they're going to, rush through everything, because they have a tendency to rush through things. You saw that in episode 3 with what they did with Nacho. I mean, remember Nacho? I mean, what? This is the final season, and Nacho is nowhere to be seen. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that what they did with that character? I mean, that was a disgrace. Like, that was really a huge disgrace, what they did there. But there's just not much good to say. Like, there's nothing that I can really be enthusiastic about. I love the acting. I love how it's made. It's made very well. But honestly, I think that last episode was much better than this, even though last episode was a C plus, so it was another C episode. At least last episode, at least it had more things going on. This episode like slowed down even more. Like this episode moved at like a snail's pace, and it feels like these next 2 episodes though they're gonna be rushed. And so I don't like the format. I don't like the structure of how rushed everything feels. If I knew that there were like more seasons coming, then I would say that its pace is okay, but I still didn't like the killing off of Nacho that early. But still, this is the final season. These are the final episodes. And it feels like the most boring thing ever. Like, on Saturday, I was hoping to get to Monday as soon as possible because Doctor Strange 2 sucked badly. But honestly, Doctor Strange 2 was way better than this. This was boring and dull and uneventful and unnecessary. And yeah, so I really didn't like this episode. The only thing that I liked was Lalo. And honestly, you could just cut out that 10-minute sequence of Lalo. I give that 10-minute sequence of him in Germany, I give that sequence an A+. Even though it's another, and here's another funny thing. Speaking of rushed, he basically fast traveled all the way to Germany. And we don't know how he got, people pointed out in the comments, we don't know how he got a visa that fast. We don't know where he got that gun. We don't know anything how he found Warner's wife. We don't know any of that. And it's like, why not? Like, why not? Instead of having all this stuff with Gus staring into space, give us more of Lalo. Because Lalo's the best character. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like this video. Comment, what did you think of this boring ass episode? Did you like the fight between Howard and Saul? Ugh. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more Better Call Saul reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.